Thank you very much for joining another RegCentric webinar. I hope you've had a chance to take a sandwich or a coffee and you're ready for an exciting event. My name is David Rule and I'll be chairing the session once again today. Today's webinar is on data discipline, the key to cost reduction and enterprise growth. The agenda today, we will cover the business challenge we see with data, the 7 data disciplines for cost reduction and enterprise growth, and we'll cover some Q&A towards the end. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Please, on the screen, use the chat function to make comments to the speaker. Please also use the Vote Now box for any surveys presented on screen. If you can keep on mute during the session, that would be great. And towards the end, we'll answer the questions which you've put into those chat functions. And if we do not have time to cover all the questions today at the end, we'll follow you up after the session. We're running to a 1:15 finish today, so it'll be a nice quick one. Introducing the team. We've got Thomas Fillet, who's joining us again. He's the founder of RegCentric. He's over a decade of experience in providing consulting and implementation services across finance, risk management, compliance and audit functions of major financial institutions across Europe, Australia and Asia. And we've also got Bala, who'll be doing the majority of the speaking today. Bala Rasaratnam is a passionate leader in data management, data information architecture and business intelligence with over 20 years of experience in the banking industry. Bala has a track record of delivering business outcomes with commercial value and progressive improvements to data and BI landscape for efficiency and risk mitigation. We welcome you and our speakers today and we look forward to an excellent session. I will now hand over to Thomas Fillet.
Thank you, David. Local and international regulations have significantly increased in recent years. In the financial services industry, for example, our regulators are asking for more frequent reporting with increased data quality expectations and shorter implementation timeframes. The current COVID-19 regulatory environment has only accelerated that trend. For example, there is currently weekly reporting on SME guarantee scheme and even more frequently on liquidity risk. Also, other industries are subject to similar trends, such as the manufacturing industry, which is moving towards Industry 4.0, which focuses on automation, robotics, and AI. Data-driven decisions, improving reporting standards, and data risk management lies at the heart of these requirements. Many industries are experiencing significant disruption due to lower barriers for entry, often through tech innovation and continued globalization. In the case of financial institutions, the introduction of non-financial companies into the finance industry means they're capturing part of the banking value chain and customer base. And digital-only alternatives are quickly growing their market share. With increasing globalization, local manufacturing and service industry are also competing against low-cost alternatives on the global stage. Financial institutions are facing the challenge of increasing costs of capital, sustained lower interest rates, and decreasing returns on equity. Keeping up with the rapidly changing customer needs and the cost of skilled resources is a challenge for all industries. COVID-19, with its unprecedented nature, has further exacerbated these pressures. Data is exponentially increasing in both variety for structured and unstructured data, as well as in volume and velocity. Ensuring the right context, quality, and integration of data is no easy task. As enterprises are moving towards cloud, third-party service providers and software as a service has made end-to-end data flows highly complex and has made it challenging to manage data completeness, consistency, and ownership and accountability. As businesses shift towards advanced analytics and AI, this is demanding speed, agility, and easy access to data, and it exposes high data security, attestation, and operational risk. Business units within organizations that are trying to solve their data issues in silo to suit their individual needs further add to data inconsistency and complexity across the enterprise. So data governance is a key enabler to nurture data as an enterprise asset and to provide the right people with the right data at the right time to drive successful business outcomes. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Bala.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Thomas mentioned about the business challenges and how digital disruption is impacting and making the data governance a greater challenge. I'm going to talk to you about how the organizational disciplines can actually reduce the cost of managing data and position for successful business outcome overall, not just limited to regulatory needs. Let's just pause a minute and look at organizational data. Regardless of the industry, if you look at the high-level topics of data, which we call as the data domains, it's about customers, and their arrangements with the organization, customer relationship management, product management, risk, finance, HR, and the topics and the data domains are common. The key is how people actually use the data, interacting with the interconnecting those topics. And for front-end staff, basically they need customer information, product information, and customer arrangement information to service the front line. Risk will require the same customer data with the risk rating and customer delinquencies, arrangement delinquencies to manage the organizational risk. Marketing will look at the risky customers and the customer segments and make sure they don't actually send out marketing leads to those who are already in delinquent. And finance will use that information with the risk information to assess organizational profit and loss. The data is interconnected. The challenge is, if the data is managed in silo, every part of the business unit take a copy of all of these components somewhere in their silo environment and enrich the data in silo, then managing consistency across the organization becomes costly. And just think, everyone using the same value, same metrics from a central area and consuming it in a federated way. So every investment you make on one data topic or one data area actually is of value to the entire organization. And therefore, the interconnectedness of business and data becomes the key for managing the risk of the data and actually enabling the organization to maximize its value. Let's talk about data strategy and how that links to the enterprise success. Every organization is using data in some shape or form to reduce their risk, enable the business to meet customer need or organizational efficiency internally, and also reduce the cost and increase profit. So information maturity, as it grows, the business value grows. And the foundation of it is the data quality and consistency across the organization. With that, you actually move into the hindsight of building the reporting capability. And it's the more you connect the data and more you actually analyze the data, you move into cross-functional analytics and capability of what has happened in trend analysis. As the data you get is becoming real-time and you get in-the-moment decisions to make, you are now moving into the discovery, operational management, and investigative analysis. The price is when you start bringing a whole value variety of data, with structured, unstructured data coming together in a different timeline, which uses and value generates more value to the analytics community, and with business simulation capability, AI capability, you're actually positioning extreme competitive edge in the industry and time to market and be the first to market your product. And for this to come, the data quality and the business capability as you mature in the analytic and reporting space, need to go hand in hand. Take an example of a restaurant. You can bring the best chef and the perfect menu and a fantastic layout to attract customers. But if your kitchen doesn't have sufficient ingredients or poor quality ingredients, stale food, the customer experience is severely impacted. Similarly, you spend more time in the kitchen selling the ingredients but don't have the right capability and make the ingredient accessible to the chef. Again, the customer impact is pretty poor. So you need to balance it by improving your data quality and make it available for business to meet the business outcome and then progressively improve the next lot. So it will be an iterative process, but the price is actually assessing against is business getting wins out of it. Because data management and data strategy is not a standalone one. It is an enterprise enabler. We'll look at the 7 disciplines. How the disciplines actually is a more of an organizational discipline. How that will reduce the firefighting of data and allow you time and energy to focus on innovative things with data to get the business outcome. The foundational capability for all of that is underpinned by the right leadership who sets the strategy and roadmap, business operational functions with policy standards and process for sustainable capability, and technology for scalability and efficiency of the business operations. Looking at each, now we'll go through every discipline one by one. The very first discipline starts with the leadership. Leadership sets the tone and the priority and accountability for the data. So it's the who part. The second one is the data landscape, data architecture and lineage. Where is the data captured, stored, processed and published? And how does the data flow? Is it efficient? Do we have gaps? The data architecture and lineage actually helps you to control that and reduce the complexity. The third discipline is understanding what the data is about and how critical is the data to the organization. So bringing consistent understanding and language for data and manage the data based on priority. The fourth discipline is about protecting your data end-to-end throughout the life cycle. This discipline talks about issue management. When you find data issues, how do you effectively and efficiently, progressively improve the quality of the data and make it accessible to the end users at the right time. Sixth discipline is about the staff awareness, which is preventing new data quality issues happening. The more people are aware of the value of the data and how they need to protect it, what standards they need to apply, the less data quality issue you will face. And the final discipline is how effective are these six disciplines are working end-to-end flawlessly, and which areas you need to actually focus to uplift. So it's a progressive, continuous improvement to the data discipline. We move to the next one. So we have had Thomas mentioned about polling questions. The second question is, now that you know a high-level view of the various disciplines, how do you assess your organization's current data governance maturity? We have given 5 answers. The bottom one is from bottom up. The bottom one is your at a very starting point. Either you're a startup company looking to set up data controls and governance capabilities upfront, or you're just identifying data as an asset. The D answer is you have got pockets of data disciplines, but you are looking at making it repeatable through standardization and centralization for consistency. The C answer is you are at a defined level where you have a centralized capability, but you are actually maturing it to make it predictable and it flows end to end with more maturity. The B is managed level. You have a centralized function which is working okay, but you are doing continuous improvement on it to make it more efficient. And the A is you're fully optimized and you're actually shooting the stars and looking at innovation with data. I'm not too sure whether you will be in A because you won't be at a webinar for data governance, but it would be great if you actually highlight where you are so that we can more tailor where your answers are tailored to your needs. Okay. It's good to see majority of you who have answered are at the initial level, so we can actually lay the foundation appropriately. Let's start with the disciplines. The first discipline is leadership, leading the strategy and governance uplift. So organizational leadership should start from the top. Executive level leaders should actually sponsor. You set the tone from the top with enterprise priority. Otherwise, you can continuously do operational uplift and year on year you go for investment ask and you do tactical solutions. So the priority and focus need to come from the board to drive it down throughout the organization. The leadership can be set up for data either through a virtual data governance council with business representation covering the council, provided the senior leaders of the business have the right capacity and knowledge to drive data strategy. Alternatively, you can set up a data function with the Chief Data Officer. But it's important to note that the Chief Data Officer is there as a delegated authority to the business. Chief Data Officer does not own the enterprise data problems because it's not for business to throw it over the fence and expect one function to actually clean up the data while the others go about continuously creating data complexity. It needs to be aligned. From an accountability perspective, you have data strategy and transformation programs, program leaders, program managers executing that for the Data Governance Council. You will have data owners and data stewards who actually look at the data problems in their area, who would be able to set up standards and expectation of how to manage that data, and then data operation teams who actually execute ongoing for progressive improvement. The key for this is collaboration. Collaboration across business, data function, and technology in aligning priorities and working with strong partnerships is the key for success. You take the COVID situation. Within a month, every company has actually gone completely digitized, and they can have staff working from outside and not having to come physically to the building. And that happened only because organizationally, everyone focused on the priority for technology enablement for the staff and put the capacity and time for the technology team to focus on that. When you have too many focus and too many priorities in the organization, driven by individual KPIs, you are not going to get a consistent business outcome. And hence why the priority alignment and strong partnership across business, data function, and technology becomes the key for success. And the leadership sets the tone. Let's go to the second discipline. Second discipline is about knowing your data landscape. The data architecture is about where the data is captured, how the data is stored, integrated, enriched, published, and also data lineage about how the data flows from capture point to where you are publishing the data to consume. One way of managing the data capability and data architecture is having a framework. So the framework helps you to map out your current data landscape and look at opportunities and opportunities to uplift the capability and also opportunity to reduce complexity. So what you see on the screen is basically the core foundational capabilities of data architecture. The blue tiers are the core data layers where you have the operational system creating the data and capturing the data for operational purposes. Then you have the integrated data platform, operational data stores, calculators, which actually use the source data, connect the data through the right models, and start enabling a multi-view of the data for the consumers of different aspects, which we covered in the previous slide. Then you have master data and reference data management. Master data management capability is about when you have multiple capture points for a data topic like customer, you capture it through multiple systems. You need to unify it to create a unique profile of a customer. So master data management capability actually helps you to get there. Reference data management helps you to use the data through different links. For example, organizational hierarchies, product hierarchies. So when the consuming teams or when you publish data for consumption, you can slice and dice it through multiple links. Reference data also covers list of values, like, for example, currency codes, country codes. Those ones will enable consistency in defining the data and also interpreting the data. So it's about the usability of the data. The reference data also helps for quality control. The gray boxes are more of the enablers of the data capability. One is when you look at the data movement capability on your list, basically looks at the ETL tools, APIs, file transfer tools and capabilities that helps to move the data through sources to integration platforms to between consumption and the flow of the data. The acquisition, staging, and distribution tier basically helps you to move the data, cleanse the data, and bringing together like a file storage place, staging environment. So it's actually an environment where you standardize the data. The storage and support services basically helps you to look at the capabilities in terms of your backup, archiving, the platform services. So that together brings the core foundation of the data architecture. Then the green ones basically is a consumption part. So on the left side, what you see are the tools and capabilities such as your web services, your mobile apps, your reporting tools, and the top layer basically shows how the reporting data marts and analytic models preparing data for targeted consumption. The final tier is your data control tier, which basically covers the security management, data quality management, and metadata management. So metadata management is your business process lineage. Security covers data loss prevention, cyber security, privacy, and access control. And your quality management is like your profiling, data validation rules, and managing data quality assessment. So together, this framework helps you to map out your current state and understand what is missing, and do you have too many of the same tools and capabilities that is adding to your complexity. So you and keep your business use case end-to-end more seamless and protected and controlled. The next discipline is basically understanding the data. You start with the content part of the data, and the criticality of the data is dependent on the use case and business value it can generate and the likelihood and impact it can create. Based on that, you define your criticality and which data is more important, and you narrow your focus of data management first, starting with the critical data. Understanding the information about the data is covering the various lens we touched on. But who owns the data? What is the business description, business rules to derive the data? Confidentiality and usage policy, including privacy and data ethics rules. Data lineage, how does the data flow and where is it actually being consumed? Data quality standards, what is the expected quality of the data? And finally, data grouping. We touched on data domains and subject areas. This will help to group the data at a higher level for improvement and communication. The key is to ensure this information is captured in a centralized glossary and easily accessible for the entire organization, so that you generate a consistent common language for data. Everyone speaks the same language. When someone says customer profit, it's actually calculated in the same way. The metrics is the same value. Take an enterprise perspective while delivering a specific scope. Like project by project, everyone builds data dictionaries, but if they are built in isolation and having it as a data silo, you have an issue because you'll never get benefit out of it. And the last one is make it sustainable and scalable with the right tools, people, and business processes. Next one, so we spoke about who, where the data is, and what the data is about. Now it's about protecting the data and knowing are there any issues. When you look at the data life cycle end-to-end, it starts with the capture. You then process the data, enrich the data, retain the data for consumers to use, publish the data with insights for action, and finally actually search the data or delete the data. That's the data life cycle, and it's allocated for each business use case. The data control starts from the starting capture point all the way to deletion, and they're of different types. The first type is technology control. This is generally any capability that you're automating end-to-end. Technology controls are in place. So you have file control, schedule control, audit traceability. So it comes as a standard automation step. The second capability is technology control supported by business. So data security, data validation, cleansing. So these are technology implementation that can happen. However, it needs to be supported by business with the right business rules and also ongoing operation. For example, data security, you can put access control. But when staff move from one role to another role, someone needs to actually change their access levels, and they need to remove certain access and add certain. And that's where the active business support is required. The next control is business-owned control supported by technology capability, like master data management, reference data management, data quality reconciliation, business glossaries. They are more business-centric, but technology enablement brings efficiency and scalability and impactful. And the last control is more business control around how they actually work through data quality issues across the organization, data change management and impact assessment. Again, technology may be able to assist, but it's more business-centric. Ultimately, you need to manage with appropriate controls across end-to-end the business value chain to make sure the consumer end actually receives the right data at the right time with right quality for consumption. And make it sustainable. More you automate, more you simplify, the easier it becomes to manage. And it becomes an organizational decision. Just think about what are the trade-offs for organizations to manage the control. Key consideration is cost versus value. The speed of insight, how fast you want, will then dictate how many controls you need to put. For example, if you look at marketing, and marketing wants to send out leads as the customer actually going to a website using the clickstream data, you can't have too many controls and processes in between because it will impact the speed to value. It's like putting speed humps and traffic lights in a highway. From a regulatory perspective, you need higher quality data, and speed is not your priority. No regulator is asking, at least not at the moment, real-time insight. They're giving you time. So you focus more on the quality and you put the more controls for regulatory purpose. So it's actually fit for purpose based on the use case. Then of course the cost of control comes with the level of risk as well. So you have a risk framework that actually assess the probability of risk issues versus the impact of the risk. Sorry. So the probability of risk, the more probability of the risk you have and the impact of it, then you actually increase the focus on the control. If it is lower risk and less likelihood of the risk, then you don't need to put so much of investment on the control. So it's a balance and a trade-off. So the fifth discipline is managing data issues. So how do you manage and resolve data issues in an iterative way? You need to establish the right people, workflow, and the tools. So centrally capture the data risk in a register and work through a workflow process. So this is a sample workflow process with consumers who actually should be registering the data quality issues. Prioritization of the data quality, you don't need to fix every quality, which one actually, again, use the risk framework, likelihood and impact of the risk, and work with the process and system owners to solve the problem and make sure the problem solution that you're putting in place actually fixes the issue you started with. The governance and the operation structure we saw in the leadership level actually helps you to run this seamlessly. So data operation teams own the data management process, and the stewards will assist in prioritizing and validating the solutions, and any escalations will go to the governance council. The key for data management, issue management, is focus on high priority issues and fix the issues closer to where the source of the issue is, so that you don't go tactically and year on year investment need to improve the data quality. You fix it once and then you move forward with the data. And consider broader enterprise value with every remediation investment. So every year on year, every organization, particularly who are already into data management thinking, invest on data quality improvement. But you never get over it because you're looking at silo and you're looking at tactical fix. Sometimes taking a step back and fixing where it needs to be fixed helps you to move away from ongoing firefights with data and actually use the data for more innovative ideas. Next one is very important one and often overlooked. The sixth discipline is self-awareness. This is where you prevent or reduce data quality issues from happening. You need to establish enterprise-wide training, educating the entire organization about the criticality and business impact with data, how the business process and data architecture landscape hangs together, and what the data really means, the business glossary, quality standards, controls, data security and confidentiality expectations, data ownership and accountability, and finally, the data risk and consequence. Every staff in the organization should be fully aware of it, and the more you make it important, less offenders you will find. Again, I'll bring COVID as an example. Currently, every day you get updates from the government and what is expected from people, and that becomes part of our nature. And it only took a month for the entire country across the world to align to those standards, because you just repeat the message over and over again so that people feel the importance of it. With the next type of training is targeted training for capability uplift. You need to have the right resources, recruit, coach, certify data professionals, to establish community of practice across data management teams, data business users of the data, analytic teams, reporting teams, so that people understand what the other part of the organization is doing to leverage from each other, reduce redundancy, and also learn from each other. The other most important part is recognition and reward for the staff, and that's one of the key things is data management, data governance is like oxygen. When it's there, you take it for granted, and you start really appreciating when it's sucked out of you. So you do need to appreciate the team who are really working hard to improve the quality of the data. The other important part is communication. So share data strategy and roadmap across the enterprise, celebrate the progress and success, linking the business achievements, and provide regular updates with data impact and breaches for the entire organization to know how data and individual mistakes are causing high risk and cost to the organization. And finally, consequence management. Appropriate data quality KPIs should be embedded in everyone's scorecard at all levels, because across the organization, staff are either producing data or consuming data or being owners and stewards of the data. They fall into one of the categories, and they all need to start taking accountability for their piece of data. The other one is ensure data breaches result in penalty and for offenders, and record data risk and push it against accountability against the business units which are causing the risk to remediate. It's like a data tax. The final discipline, the seventh discipline, is how do you actually close the loop of all 7 parts and make sure the leadership understands and take the right action. So we highlighted how the leadership structure would look like. We start with data strategy and program, and then each one, the data program managers will have to work through the maturity of the program. Data stewards need to assess how the disciplines are benchmarked against the industry best practice. And finally, data operations teams need to look at data risk, events, and impacts to the organization. Connecting all of them together, actually done by a third party under operational risk as a BAU function, helps you to validate the data risk against your risk appetite settings and make sure the governance council can actually, or the data officer can actually address those gaps. So that takes us to the last discipline. So to summarize, key to success comes with you need to start small, understand the current state, and progressively uplift the capabilities. Have passionate leaders to sponsor and set the tone from the top, which is an important part. What makes it stick is you need to have the right people, process, and tools. That's where the rubber hits the road. Centralize data and strategy, and federate the consumption and execution, because that way you're actually setting the tone and what needs to be done, and then everyone actually follow you accordingly, and it becomes a seamless activity. Converge and liberate, maximize every investment across the organization. So every data investment, look at through business initiatives and look at opportunities to do it together. So you get more money to get great outcomes. Actively measure outcomes against enterprise success and growth. Celebrate success, refine as you go, and deliver iteratively. And finally, make data a key enabler for the enterprise and collective responsibility for every staff in the organization.
Thank you, Bala. It's extremely important to get that data picture right from the very beginning. And so thank you very much for sharing your thoughts today. We are at the end of the webinar in terms of timing. However, we do have some questions, so we will go over slightly. But for those who need to leave, what I would say is that please take down our details. It's on the screen right now. Bala and our team would be happy to take your questions or work through any particular challenges that you have at the current moment. So please get in touch with us. But for now, you're welcome to leave if you're leaving at that 1:15 mark. However, we will be taking some questions now. Thomas, I'll just hand over to you to read those questions and answer those with Bala. Thank you.
All right, thanks, David. Yeah, we did have a question come through the chat function. So if there's other people who have questions, then feel free to add them in there as well. So the question probably for yourself, Bala, is what is RegCentric's view or experience in terms of companies in Australia? I guess their data governance maturity, as per our polling question number 2. You know, we had 5 categories. Is there a common trend across the industry within Australia?
Yeah, I would say one is more the focusing on the repeatability. Most of the companies do have data controls, data management capability, but it may be in pockets. So making it centralized and making it work for the entire organization is a challenge. In other companies where they have CDO function and establish the process, making it more effective and getting the business uptake on following the standards can be a challenge. So a lot of the people are in categories and see what we put it as a reactive and also working through the defined state.
Yeah, look, and maybe to add, and I guess internationally, Australia is maybe lagging a little bit behind in terms of like the regulatory frameworks around data and privacy. If you look at areas like in Europe, GDPR, we didn't really have a similar kind of far-reaching type of regulation like that yet. Also, kind of in the finance industry, I guess we don't have a BCBS 239. Our banks are not part of the GSIP category. So that's, I guess, a little bit less established. We would say that, there's a lot of regulatory drivers at the moment to get data governance up the maturity curve. That's, around reporting, but also around, CPG 235 is an important guideline that kind of has become more important, and we know that the regulator is working on an increase or an uptick in the requirements around that as well. So we do see that a lot of organizations are still kind of in the earlier stages of increasing their maturity around their data governance, especially in the finance industry. All right. I guess, mindful of time, and also we haven't had additional questions come through. I think we can conclude the webinar at this stage. Like David said, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can also visit our website for any recordings of previous webinars, and we'll also be publishing a recording of this webinar as well. Thank you, and thank you for Bala.
Thank you.
Thanks all for joining.